You guys are in for a wild treat today. I hope that you put away all of the distractions, you turn this up loud, and you get ready to just be wowed by, I believe it's just the spirit. Like, I've got a sister in the house that is just so connecting. She deeply cares and sees people. She provides an essence of peace that the world needs more of. And she does it from all of the same places and stages and opportunities that I love, right? Because she is an ultimate messenger from the stage, from podcasting, from intimate relationships as a coach, both life and business. And she does it with the heart center of Jesus, of course. That's why she's here. And Dana, I'm just so excited for people to have access to you today. And so I'm so grateful for you to be on the show.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be here. You remind me of my journey of what brought me here and all the ebbs and flows and all the things I thought I was. But the core essence, I always go back to riding the Joy Bus and Pastor Benner paying for church camp every year. And that being my foundation of connection and faith that I always go back to, no matter what it is in the world that the world tells us that we are, or however we're born, born with certain gifts and we can't be a seer and we can't believe as well. And we believe these stories, and you have always illuminated and mirrored back to me that I see you clearly, and I see your heart and your energy and how you show up, and that matters. And it does. It's our that core integrity. It matters.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the reasons, even when I had the opportunity to be on your show, that just to be able to be like raw and real, but also not hold back, like this word that's kind of been around me a lot lately is not hold back the bloom. Sometimes you can
Yeah.
get in the space with another sister and like, okay, it's your time to shine. I'll be less shiny while Dana is shiny. And that
Yes.
is not your desire at all. It's like, let's
No.
shine right together and
Yeah.
help others come into that. And so there's a
Mhm.
couple of things that you kind of say, you speak to, you have a vision around and mission around. And I want us to go to like the backstory of where that came from, understanding that transformation is our birthright, understanding that we actually can live a life that we deserve and that we don't have to stay hidden, that we don't have to stay in this place of the storyline that somebody else tried to write for us or one that we got stuck in the past, and really live to our full potential. Can you walk us through what that looked like for Dana Grant first before
Mm.
we go into helping those who are listening?
Well, how much time do we have? How far back can we go? We started at the Joy
Girl,
Bus, and that
we
was
need
age 10.
days. We need
That was
our own
age
show.
Yeah. What's so interesting about that is, I intuitively just felt like where I need to start is when we were born. When
Yeah.
we were born with two fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. That is it. Everything else was programmed. We picked up along the way and we made it mean something about our life. And we made it mean something to us. And that's where we navigate from, because we've heard a story and we've digested it. And we said, this is what this means to me. And this is how I'm going to show up. And I'm going to navigate from that place. And it's usually a place of worry, doubt, and fear of the bind, because as you know, that most of our stories, 95% come from that subconscious place. And 85% are repetitive and negative. So we just live in this matrix. Yes. And I call it the maze, because we are in this maze, and all the newness of, if we really conceptualize that there are no fears, the fear of loud noises, that's it. That's what you came into the world. And this wonderment, I want people to get back to the joy, the wonderment, the connection of why we're here. It doesn't mean a flying monkey, what people think. It matters what you think. And it terrified me, those flying monkeys and the Wizard of Oz. But the Wizard of Oz,
We're scary.
I love the movie too. It's like, it's delicious and colorful and magical, and it's so simple. And keeping it simple.
Yeah.
There's no place like home. Keeping it simple, that we don't need to create this complicated system to find and hold joy, peace, happiness. We just have to choose it, which I'll just add is our greatest power, the right to choose in the present moment. Can't choose the past, future, present moment right here. We chose to overcome enormous amount of electrical connection. We just said, hey, we're doing this, and we chose. Or we
Yeah.
could have bailed and said, you know what, the world is done, things are not working. We didn't do that.
Yeah, yeah, and
I'm glad we didn't.
people are in for a treat just because of it, and one of
Yeah.
those things is the power of presence and the way in which you can show up in all of who you are. And
Yeah.
so know that there are seasons in your life that that might not have always been the case, that there was areas of pressure, there were storylines that have been created, things that have been projected onto you. Can you talk a bit about what some of those experiences were that allowed you to like press past or move from just like hitting your wall against the side of the head of the maze and say, no, I'm going to
Yeah.
turn around and I'm going to try something new?
Good question. People often think I've just landed here and I was just gifted, and it's been just a one big success after another. I can't think of more train wrecks than I've had. And I just, someone said recently in Santa Fe at a retreat, they said, you just keep getting blasted out of the saddle, and you just get up, and it's as if you don't even notice that you had a double barrel. And I'm like, well, no, I felt the hit. But
Yeah,
I metabolize very quickly, and I say that because I want to know, what do I need to know? I just don't have any time to waste
that's so
on
good.
any form of shame or regret. But I have had a big life full of loss, a big life full of trauma, betrayal. I have huge stories. In fact, my book coming out is a lot of it. It speaks to the what I had to overcome, and that is a choice too. I was devoted to knowing that I am not alone. I'm very connected. And so when I thought I was walking alone, I wasn't. But there was a lot of, I said betrayal without getting
Yeah.
into too much of it, business betrayals, marriage betrayals, and taking it personally. What have I done wrong to call so much in, all this chaos?
Yeah.
What have I done to call in all of this messy? And then if someone said, and I was very trigger happy when they said, your life is full of chaos, I'm like, no, no, it's not. I'd be very resistant. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
you got that right.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
call
you
it anymore, but you're right. A big, messy life that I claim all of it,
yeah.
including illness, addiction, betrayal, loss, millions of dollars lost. And I recognize now that all my power in this present moment means I can rebuild anything I choose to rebuild, and I've done it.
Yeah, yeah, which is such a success story in the right way. I think a lot of people are striving for success and they're looking at
Yeah.
some of the incredible things that you have had, accolades or recognition around, whether it's on magazines or on
Yeah.
incredible shows or things like that. And you're like, that stuff is fun. Like, we'll applaud that. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, when you meet your maker, like, he doesn't care about any of those
No.
things. He cares about the heart of the people you've interacted with.
Yeah.
He wants to know, have you put to use the talents and the gifts and the treasures that I've put inside of you? And that's where I see success. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gets it and she's using it and
Yeah.
she's serving from a place of abundance like that, because a lot of people would take this as a hoarding, as a pride, right? And
Right.
really pulling it to themselves versus it becoming a reservoir where people who are hungry, people who are weak, people who have been stuck in cycles of shame or doubt or worry or fear, all these things are able to come and drink from the well that has been given to you. Can you talk, like, at what point, as you were processing all of these things and walking through from triumph to triumph, glory to glory, as they say, that
Yeah.
you were like, I really want to help other people. I have this reservoir. I have this well that I keep drinking from. I want to invite others in. What did that process look like?
I think I knew early on that being of service, took me out of a space of grief. So it could have been some spiritual
Good.
bypassing, that it was too much for me to hold and feel. So I just focused, and then of course I went through boundaries. Wait a
Yeah,
minute, I got to pull. So there's no perfection of how I did it. I
that's great.
probably overgave for a long time, and then I had to recognize, oh, wait a minute. And I remember taking a boundaries course called the Boundaries Book, and
Yes,
I'm
so
certified
good.
through a Christian life coaching school, and they put up this boundaries series, and I'm like, what? What? You can say no, and then we don't have to tell them why. And I was an over giver and over explainer. Now when I see that, so I tell people, I see you, because it doesn't take me a micro moment to see how they show up and what it is they're carrying and what it is they need. So service is how I navigate. And I really, and I just put that out there today in my stories because I love connecting with people and I want them to feel seen and heard. And I said, listen, yes, I have a team that runs this. It's ridiculous to think I can run all that. But I
Yeah.
said, I will answer you. You let me know. I see you. If you need to be heard or reach out, I'm going to connect with you. This is not about money. This is about connection and honor and knowing that life is hard. And I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
It may look effortless, but I know how difficult it is. And I know how lonely an entrepreneur can be. And I know the ebbs and flows. There can be great moments and low moments, but I want people to know there is that reservoir. And I've always been able to hold a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that God does not give us this big life of pain. He does not waste pain. I said this on Emerly's stage last year. I
Yeah.
said, God does not waste pain.
No.
And yes, my life has been full of grief and pain, but I don't call that in anymore.
Yeah.
Healing that core wound. And I think people have to go back to what is the core of what it is we have not identified, because we will come out here and we will just call it in over and over and over again. I don't care how much faith you've got. You're like, okay, God, come on.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. But at some point he gave us free will and accountability, and we must be accountable. And I believe that we have to be consistent to our commitment, which means deep accountability, which means when I know better, I do better. And I take accountability. Having 3 grown daughters, and I just spent 10 days in Florida, there is no bigger red button that's going to be pushed than them saying something and triggering me. And this particular visit was a little more challenging. I was a little more triggered, I think, because I'm writing the book. I'm feeling a little more vulnerable.
Processing
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and I wanted to defend. I started to defend myself. Well, that's not true. And I thought, no, you hold space for their truth.
So
and I
good.
think that reservoir is I can hold space. God has just given me this gift to hold space for other people's truth. And I can say without judgment. I think the judgment there, I just wasn't, I have a lot. I think having a big life and having a lot go wrong, I understand what it's like to be judged and still being judged a lot. It's like, you know what? I'm just not going to show up. My commitment is to show up judge free. And it feels there's so much freedom in that, to be able to hold space without judgment. I can see so much more. I can evolve and move through so much information quickly without the filters of judgment, which
Well, and I think judgment parallels a lot to like resentment, or you then taking, instead of it being ownership piece, you actually taking that spirit of offense on. And that is such an easy thing to do without recognition, and then being like, why do I feel so heavy? Why do I feel like I'm in this cycle consistently? Why is this happening again? And we know that forgiveness is a huge part of like repentance and forgiveness, right? Repentance is really the accountability piece. It's the ownership piece. It's the
and
saying,
release.
here's where I'm at. Yes.
You release it. You don't grab
Massive.
ownership back again and say, I'm going to just chew on that a little bit more. I release
No.
it. And people are like, aren't you resentful that happened or this happened or they took this? No, I'm grateful. And then I'm going to replace it with gratitude, because without them, I would not have evolved or learned, and I wouldn't be at this next level of understanding.
Right. The wisdom piece, and also the level of service, right? I was just sitting at coffee with a friend earlier, and she was talking about how she wasn't able to relate to this particular person who was just in the throes of grief after miscarriages. And she was like, I do resonate with these feelings. I actually do understand how you're feeling. But the girls just like kept hitting a brick wall in the conversation, to the point where the woman was like, well, you know what? I'm going to serve you anyway by having conversations with people you should be having conversations with. So she had this person on her podcast, and she passed the podcast to said friend. And when she did so, even though they were the exact same things that she was already saying, the person had all these light bulbs go off, all these wisdom factors, because there was this resonant frequency that she couldn't establish herself, simply because she hadn't walked through that trial and tribulation. And so when people are walking through something heavy or hard, there's a part of me that's like, ooh, I can see what God's going to do with this. Like I can already forecast it's going to serve abundantly, and it's going to bring people into himself. That's what he's here for. He's here to draw people in. And so while he might not press in or create the problem, he's going to sustain you through the problem so that you can have this level of wisdom that you're created to be able to share if you're not selfish in it.
Yeah, and energetically, we can, I love scientific facts that now that we know
Yeah.
gratitude is a high vibration that
Yes.
can be measured. And we know that over here on this energetic, and I love universal laws. God gave us these universal laws to play with, that here he creates it. And then over here in the 9.999 of the unknown, that is faith, that is
Yeah.
not knowing the outcome. We're
Yes.
married to the process, we divorce the outcome. That if we know the outcome, we're over here in the stories and it's cyclical. We're in a cycle
Yes.
and we're
Yeah.
not going to get a different result. But the ego says, just try it one more time.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
just see if we're going to get a different result. But over here, energetically, it's the faith, it's the connection of the unknown, it's all the things that we can't see, but now actually can be measured. Energy is what we were created in his image, and all of these things that we are is, I believe, faith-based.
Yeah.
Faith is in the unknown. Faith is in the not knowing. Faith is in, wow, I'm here and I don't have to ask why. I just have to trust.
Yes.
And I have to have faith. Trust and faith,
Yes.
I think, are the hardest things for people to make that shift, the 100% shift in and abandon that grind of worry, doubt, fear, because it's
Yes.
such a comfort and it's been
Yes.
such a constant companion. And it's like, well, what am I going to do if I don't worry? What am I going to do if
Yeah.
and we know this is subconscious. People
It
don't
is.
consciously say, I don't want to sleep. I want to worry. I want to be freaked out about lack and scarcity and
Yeah.
all the things. But
Yeah, but it's the new neural pathways, and that's the
yeah,
understanding that anything that you do for the first time is gonna feel odd, uncomfortable, a little bit
terrifying.
out of body, right? You're like, I don't wanna do this." It was so wild. Even just yesterday, Dana, I was asking my daughter, "Is there anything you've ever been afraid of that you've never told me
Mm.
about?" And she really pondered it. She's only 10, so I wasn't really expecting her
Oh,
to go
love
there.
that age.
And she said, "Remember when we did that zip line through St. Thomas?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I was really afraid that I was gonna fall out of the harness and I was gonna die."
Mm.
And I was like, "Wow, Waverly." And she's like, "It wasn't the heights. That's not what scared me. It was like I was gonna fall out and die." And she said, "But I just closed the enemy's mouth and I did it anyway." And I thought, God, you're 10. If people could understand what that even means, you
I
just
just closed my
closed
mouth
the
and I
enemy's
did it
mouth and you did it
anyway.
anyway. So
Yeah.
this chatter that goes on in our mind that is often an intense, completion of what we think is our thought and going to be the outcome,
Yeah.
most of the times are complete lies. And it's a
Complete lies.
fictitious idea. It's an imagination no different than faith. So you
Yeah.
either are partnering with a lie or you're
Yeah.
partnering with the truth. There's no gray area. Gray area is where
Brilliant
most
way
people
to
hang
say it.
out,
And
right?
partner with a lie can show up with, I'm going to binge Netflix all day. I'm not going to do what I
Oh,
need to do. It's overwhelming. I don't have the information. I'm
yes.
not her. Active comparison. It just tumbles in. And then
Oh,
we just like pull the covers over and there's a lie. And
yep.
my book is The Truth Within the Lie.
Ah, no way. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, guys,
yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
this. This is
this is the rough
so
one.
good.
It's the first time I've actually announced the title, but I mean, it was just too perfect not to say it.
No, I
It's
mean,
The Truth
literally,
Within the Lie.
I had no idea it was called that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And this is the
Wow.
last edit before and I'm struggling with the stories and I'm like, just let it go, Dana. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. Do not
Yes.
rewrite it. Do not edit. And they're like, it's
Oh,
great. I'm like, let me just print it out and read it and one more
and
time.
spiral bound it.
I
Well,
did.
what's
I
interesting,
did.
and
They said, did you print that out? I'm like, I sure did. They said, well, we put the editor's notes in on the computer. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I just wanted to
I
read it
need to
like a
hold
book.
it.
I
Yes, I
need to
need to
hold it.
hold it. And
Yeah.
you mentioned this, and I think a lot of people deal with this, and so I'd love for you to give your own wisdom here. You mentioned like the tension of even being with your daughters, talking through some of the storylines, talking through
Yeah.
what can transpire, and there can be this like friction point with family or really close friends, specifically family. How
Mhm.
have you helped people through that? Because I see this over and over again, and we know even Jesus was kicked out of his hometown. Like
Yeah.
that place of where should be the place that people nurture, should be the safe zones, should be
Should
this
be.
place where they see you the most and they know you the most. But Dana, I've probably felt more seen by you in the short amount of time that we've been
Yeah.
connected than to some of my family members. So
Oh,
talk us
absolutely.
through, why is that? What is that? It drives me nuts.
Yeah, that evolution is a big one. I would say the unsafest place
Yeah.
is with family and friends. It's just like when I was launching and I co-founded Cauliflower Foods. Everyone thought it was a terrible idea. No one's going to buy a cauliflower pizza crust.
Me.
And it's like, but I had this deep faith in knowing I didn't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
we partnered and then of course it's $1 billion industry.
So
So you've got to stay in this faith, but with family, I think we have to put death, and they will be our biggest triggers. If we can heal
yes.
that core wound, they're gonna go back and anchor us back into old stories.
Yeah.
And if we have any shame, if we can show up without shame, we can show up and say, I love you. Please forgive me with vulnerability and kindness and hear them that what they have to say, we don't resist because we need to be heard, but we're showing up and saying, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
I am accountable for all of that. It is not easy to sit and sometimes it feels like a pack of hyenas on you and you're like,
Yeah.
is this really happening at Thanksgiving? And they may have that story of you in relationship with you forever.
Yes.
One of
Yeah.
my daughters said, "This is the way I know you, and I'm never going to forget." She said, it was a tough trip. I'm
Yeah.
never going to forget what you did." And I sat there like catatonic. And then
Mm.
she said, "But I love you
Mm.
and I forgive you." And it absolutely cracked me open.
Yeah.
And because my love, but I was defensive because I'm like, never going to forgive me. I'm going to protect. I'm getting my suit. I'm going to go pack and run away. And I'm flying home now.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that was my first thing. I, anger is never anger. It's deep grief, deep regret,
Um,
deep yearning for a different outcome.
mm.
I just have done this work long enough that I thought these are my most challenging moments when
Yes.
they mean the most to me. Their love and connection, and they have been and seen it all. And I
Yes.
can't hide. I can't lie. I can't, I got to show up and take 1000% accountability. And there comes a time where we also have to set a boundary. We're like,
Yes.
what do you need from me? Because I can't keep revisiting this.
That's good.
And,
Really good.
so there are different parameters, but we can't resist it. We can't, shame will keep us pivoting and
Yes.
keep us, but it's always going to be with our closest and our friends. Dynamics may change. I say,
Yes.
we have friends that we invite to the kitchen table and we share, and when they are no longer safe or they have betrayed, or we don't keep inviting them to the kitchen table having the same
Yeah.
conversation. They're moved
Very
to the living room. And then
Yes.
we find that that's not a great place, then we move them to the porch. It
Yes.
doesn't mean we're not going to be friends. We just know the parameters and the boundaries that we have, and they may not like it. But
Yes.
it is not our job to make people happy. It just isn't
So
our
good.
job. I ask every day, what is your job? I look in the mirror every day. What do you need from me today, Dana?
Mm.
Okay, you need that. Okay, I can do that. And what is your job? My job isn't to show up all day long with clients and people please and tell them what they want to hear. My
Right.
job can be very difficult in the sense that I have to show up with love and compassion and say, and hear stories that I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to mirror that back to you, and I'm going
Right.
to, and we're going to transform. And you're going to be angry with me. Maybe you're going to be angry with
Yeah.
me for a while. And I've gotten some angry. I'm furious at you. Well, you just sit with that, and I love
Yeah.
you. I'm holding space, and let's revisit this tomorrow. And then it's like, now that I sat with it, I see. And
Yes.
thank you so much. And I'm like, but I have to hold space for that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm
And
out
that's
there to make
hard.
everyone like me,
Yeah.
not everyone's going to like us. They're
No,
not
they're
going to like
not.
me because maybe I wear my hair up or my hair down or my nose or this or that, or I speak a certain way or my hands fly. There could be a million reasons why people process us in certain
Yes.
ways, but it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's
And so I
so
take,
good.
yeah, it took me almost 60 years to say, I can honestly say I take nothing personal.
Yeah.
I love
Wow.
deeply and I hold a lot of space and I forgive a lot as quickly as I can and parameters and boundaries as much as I
Yes.
can because I know how precious this time is. And
Yeah.
that time is our most valuable currency and we
Yes.
don't get it back. And I don't want to waste moments resisting and arguing. I want to take accountability if that's what I need to do, or I need to release the relationship if that's what I need to
Yes.
do, because it
Right.
frees up on this 9.9, all this playing field. It frees up the people that need me. And if I'm full energetically over here, negotiating and negotiating, and I'm exhausted and drained, you have to question, what do I need to, I have to use the law of sacrifice and say, what do I need to sacrifice here and
That's
give up?
good.
Because I'm
That's
taking
good.
ownership of all of this, and
Yes.
it's not mine. It's
Right.
never been mine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will stay in that because they feel
Yeah.
specifically around family, they feel like this critical allegiance that
Yeah.
I can't leave this. This is something this is life,
Yeah.
right? This is life or death. It's like a marriage in some regard, but even more so because you're like, man, we share the same bloodline. I can't fix that. And I think what you
Yeah.
said is so profound for people is the other person's not gonna always do the deep work. They're
No.
not always gonna understand. They're not always gonna come to a place of release or forgiveness, which is why forgiveness is not about them, it's about you, right?
Yeah.
Forgiving and releasing them.
There may
Um,
never be a meeting of the minds,
Never.
and you have to be okay with that.
You
I have
do.
5 siblings that we went
Oh,
through
yeah.
a trust fund situation, and I've
Oh,
never
I'm
talked about
sure.
this either. It's been 15 years, and it fragmented all the relationships. There's a lot of blame, a lot of dissent, a lot of
Yes.
anger. It didn't just happen. You know, there
Yeah.
was a lot of divisiveness that happened prior to that, a lot of dynamics with the parent, and
Yeah.
how each one of us interpreted that, how we
Experience.
were,
Yeah.
yeah, how we were parented. We all have a different story,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we have to honor.
Yeah.
I honor all of their stories, and I love each one of them deeply,
Yeah.
but I have boundaries where they're not in my life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was a very painful 10 years to struggle with, one of them in particular that I wanted in my life. But now
Yeah.
I've accepted this is not gonna happen, and
Yeah.
I have to be okay with that and forgive and release and not have expectations that they're gonna do the same work in the world that I do,
Yeah.
or they're gonna
Yeah.
forgive me. And they may still be telling that 10-year-old story of me, of who
Sure.
I am, and I have to be okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
I always say, "Isn't that interesting?"
It
And
is,
yeah,
and it
that might be
is.
true. Yeah,
It
that's your
is.
story, and
And that people-pleasing piece will
yeah,
keep you in bondage yourself, and so I think
yeah,
coming back to the work that you do with people and the
yeah,
transformations that occur, it's
yeah.
so much of that accountability and ownership piece. Without it, you really can't move into the abundance factor. You can't move into what God really has in
But
store
we'll
for
be
you.
challenged there the most. We'll be
Yes.
challenged there the most, that if people don't love me and these are the closest people to me, and this is the longevity of friendship, if we stay committed to that, we are staying committed to stepping, we've stepped out of faith, trust,
Mm,
any evolution, and we are over here in this cycle of, am I enough? Do you love me enough? Let me
yes.
do, and we tolerate an enormous amount, and it's just a diet that is fed of a lot of grief. A lot of grief is there.
Yes. Yeah, which is an interesting word to use. It's been something I've been walking through personally the last season, and not something I ever really processed other than when I found out my dad was essentially on stage 4 of cirrhosis of the liver, and that he literally could die any minute, and he chooses to continue to drink through the process. Then he has an option to heal his liver. There's ways that this doesn't have to happen, and to
Yeah.
feel like abandoned by a father when he's still alive, to feel like he's dead, but he's still here. And so walking through this grief cycle of like, man, but he's still here. And
And
yet
he's
I
not choosing
resent
me. He's
this.
not choosing
Yeah.
me.
He's
Yeah,
not choosing me.
yeah,
And my siblings and at sometimes at this
yeah,
point I'm like, and my kids, like,
yeah,
what is that? And so it's been an interesting experience to process through what grieving simultaneous to surrender with joy. It can happen simultaneous. And I think a lot
yeah,
of people don't receive because they're trying to fix or they're trying to heal. And
yeah.
like there can be a blending during the healing process of joy, of hope, of peace. And so that supernatural fruit, that showcasing that peace that you might have when the chaos is all around, which is literally I've called out about you since day one. I would never describe you as chaotic, but I also haven't been invited into some of those spaces. But it's because of that steadfast peace that all of these other pieces can come into play and you can
Yeah.
serve because
You know
nobody's
what's so
serving from a
so
place of perfection.
I did not know that was your father. I had an alcoholic father too that drowned,
Mm,
unfortunately,
wow.
when I was 30. But I
Wow.
just recently had a conversation with a doctor that has created this program, and I have a new relationship and perspective. and she does this process. And we had this podcast, and it's late at night. It's in France, and she blew my mind. And I have a different relationship to my dad now. I
Wow.
have a lot of love, and I miss him. I was very close to him with all of that volatility and alcoholism, and actually could have been my safer parent
Wow.
um, than the mother figure.
Sure. Sure.
And but that being said, she said he suffered and chose in this life that alcoholism. I've never drank, not socially, not ever.
Wow.
He gave you the gift.
Mm.
He
Amen.
suffered and gave you the gift. I had never, ever
Process that.
processed or
Wow.
considered that. So she said, I want you to think about this process that he showed up and he carried that burden
Mm.
and gave you the gift, maybe of terror of not drinking, but
Mhm.
illegal, all of it. I was terrified. I
Wow.
was, whether we could say it was control, but I
Sure.
never chose to drink. And he
Wow.
gave me the gift of that. So I reconnected
Mm.
to honor and gratitude of thank you for
Wow.
passing on this gift to me. So another connection and another way of
Beautiful.
processing these
Yeah.
dynamics of why, which we know is not productive. I remember
Right.
being 17 or 16 and kicking my pink slippers off, and he came back after a binge and saying,
Yeah.
"Why can't you choose me? Why?" And I was crying. It was my first outbreak, of
Yeah.
emotional,
Wow.
like, "Please choose me."
Yeah.
And not having him choose me, and I went into the world attracting people that did not choose me.
Yes. For
And
sure.
marrying an alcohol, all the things, all
Yes.
the things. I just recreated and recreated, and there's the chaos.
Yes,
And
that's the
like,
cycle.
why am I choosing this? Well,
Wow.
we're gonna recreate what we haven't healed. And that
Yes.
core wound, it's almost cyclical. We're gonna recreate it, and it's gonna look different and show up, and we're gonna be like, I keep getting the same results,
Yes.
or I
Yes.
keep sabotaging, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just calling in at this level,
Same
this
thing.
emotional, this EQ, this emotional intelligence of this is what I know to be true, and I don't know any other way to do it. And I think that that doctor gave me that.
That's beautiful.
Side.
Yeah, we're going on 7 years of no alcohol in our home as well between me and my husband, and just like I I appreciate you saying that, and,
Yeah.
breaking generational curses is something we've been
Yeah.
really honed in on, and so it is a gift because it
Yeah,
is
your
something. Yeah,
generational curse is breaking it by not drinking, and I think I
totally.
broke. And she said, "What a gift he gave you."
Yeah,
He carried that burden, he carried that illness, he carried that alcoholism, and your gift was you are never gonna pick it
never
up,
gonna
and
do
I
it.
never picked it up,
No. Wow.
and I get I don't I have no judgment when people drink. I serve a lot at
Yeah,
my retreats, we do wine
sure.
tasting, all the things, but
Yeah.
I just have never felt the need. But when she said that, I'm
Wow, it's like a
every
relief.
cell in my body
Mm.
shifted. I could feel warmth and love and gratitude,
Mhm.
and I had empathy for
Yes.
what he and how he had suffered, and I know how much he loved me. I know how much he loved me. And so recently, I'm gonna show you this.
Yeah, I wanna see.
I just have to show you all the things. I was just at an art show and I saw this, and my dad called me Danny Dolphin. Now I have
Oh.
dolphins in my office here, but I saw this and I just bought it's glass,
Oh, it's
and I'm not big
beautiful.
on buying figurines, and I saw that
Yeah.
dolphin and I put it by his picture, and I'm like,
Oh,
it felt very. And I just for the first time was in Florida and saw, I mean, not the first time I was in Florida, my
yeah, yeah.
daughter's not there, that my daughter said, "Mom, we're out in the water." She said, "There's dolphins right in front of you." And I
Oh,
videotaped some of it. There are dozens of dolphins in front of me, and then I go in and this art studio has, like, 3 things to sell, and it's this beautiful
come
dolphin,
on.
and
I
I'm like,
love that.
"Okay,
No
okay, dad,
coincidences.
you know
Yeah,
what? It's time
thank you.
to thank you.
Wow.
I wish you were here. I wish you were
Mm,
here seeing all of the I wish you were here witnessing the healing.
wow.
I wish you knew how much I loved you. I hope you knew how much I loved you, and I forgive you. I forgive you." The Ho'oponopono prayer is something that I even said in Florida to my daughters when I'm, like, catatonic with everything coming at me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
when they said that, I just said, "I love you, please forgive me. Thank
yeah.
you, and I'm so sorry. I'm so
Wow.
sorry."
Yeah. I hope as you guys are listening, one, you just saw a live coaching session with Dana Grant and me. So thank you for the
I
incredible
would do
nuggets,
it
but
any other
also
way. You and
like
I
the
connected from day one.
vulnerability,
We couldn't do it any
right?
other way.
I just love the this is how it works. Like it's not from a
Yeah.
place of I haven't ever walked through anything, but I've gotten all of the P's and Q's and I've done all the I's and T's and got all my certifications to help you. It's like, no, I have walked through the fire in
Yeah.
order to see you so that I can come and help you in that place. And so just the reach back, I just feel that about you that you're just like reaching back to bring people to this new level, to this new opportunity of abundant living. And what a gift it is. What a gift it is. So I pray that anyone who's listening to this, one, reaches out to Dana. Literally, she will be the one who responds to you. So follow her on
Yes, I will.
Instagram, reach out. She's a voice memo girl like me. So if you
Yes,
need
we are.
something, do
We love
so.
the energy of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be together at Amberly's event here in
Oh, I
Dallas
cannot wait to hug you.
soon.
Can't wait to
It's
hug
gonna be
you.
so good. I probably am just gonna sit and like we're gonna be girls all weekend.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna be so
Yeah.
fantastic.
Girls all weekend. Synergy
Gosh, but
always.
Dana, so
Soulful
your when
synergy.
is your book coming out, and how else I want you to like put
Whew.
first and foremost where people can get in touch with you other than maybe Instagram?
Instagram is where I think I show up
Yeah,
the most right now. I mean, I'm on all the platforms and
right.
my team will always send me messages.
Yep,
They can danagrant.com.
yep.
I'm relaunching, we've rebuilt a mastermind called the Abundance Architect, where I want to
Awesome.
hold space for women. It's a different form of platform to connect and edify and support other women in a place where there's no competition. There's contracts. I'm really excited. It took a year to sit with a 185
Um,
page playbook and say, you know what? We're not ready. There's
wow,
something else I'm missing here that I need, that's needed in the world. And
wow,
until that illuminates to me, and it did, it's like, this is needed. This is what I hear the
love
most.
it.
And we're going to take competition out and we're going to support each other on. And I think that if we can leave this one last message, the more we support, the more we lift up other women, the more the tide rises with us too.
Yes,
It's just
so true.
it's such a beautiful feeling. It's so soulful. And I just want all women to know that they're seen, that they're heard, they're supported. And
Amen.
it breaks my heart to know that they're not, I remember those days,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
I
you guys are welcome in to the Abundance Architect
welcome
experience.
in. Yes.
Go tune in to the Dana Grant show. Go listen to the episode I was on with her, which we had such
Yeah.
an amazing time at
Oh,
there
yeah.
too. Dana, I
Great.
love you. I value your wisdom, and I just pray that more people get access to it. It's just an ask, you guys. I think a lot of people don't want to ask for help, but Dana is here to help. So use her to your liking for a resource. And
I love
I
you.
love you. Grateful to have you
I
on.
agree with that. I love you. I just love you. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful for you and your platform and who you are and how you show up.
Thank
Really
you. We'll be
adore you.
together soon. See
Yes.
ya.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Bye.